Dhyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Ittinani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Asyatyadeshatharine Vanshakampatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I am sincerely grateful to be with all of you this evening. Thank you for taking your precious time to be with us. And thank you, Dilly, on behalf of the Honorable Mayor Eric Adams, for giving the Bhakti Center community this wonderful award. The Bhakti Center is inspired by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, in a very special way. Srila Prabhupada came to New York 60 years ago, in 1965. He came from Vrindavan, the holiest of all holy places of India, a place where Lord Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago and performed his most intimate loving pastimes. It is a place where avatars, acharyas, saints, Goswamis have found shelter and given shelter. That was Srila Prabhupada's home. At the age of 70 years, he left his home with nothing but a heart filled with deep concern and compassion for all humanity. In fact, all beings. He came to Bombay and begged one lady, Srimati Radhanath, to give him a free passage on a cargo ship to New York. She very adamantly refused. She said, New York is a very cold and difficult place, and you are very old. He said, if you go, you will surely die. What you want to bring to New York City is impossible. She was a very great and saintly lady also. He sat at the steps of her office, and she would have her secretary bring Srila Prabhupada food. He said, I will not eat until I get a ticket. It wasn't an ocean liner. is a cargo ship. The only other people there were just the workers, the dock type of workers who just merchandise from one place to another. So he was given this passage, 38 days at sea. And 60 years ago he came to New York. He described to us he had no money, he had no real contacts, he had no followers. He was wandering almost like a homeless vagabond in New York City. And in 1965, being dressed like a Swami was extremely different. And sometimes he would go to the Scindia navigation company to see when the return voyages on the boat were going back to India. But still he stayed on. For one reason, he so deeply cared about the people of the world. We see in today's society so much conflict, so much division, wars, strife, prejudices, horrible diseases. Seeing all these things, he wanted to give a true solution. What is that solution? To give people understanding. Understanding of what Bhagavad Gita is teaching, which is at the heart of the essence of all scriptures, of all religions. An understanding of who we are. We are the living force within the body. And that living force is a part of God. And the true potential of that part of God, the soul, is to recognize and receive God's intimate, limitless love. And to reciprocate by sharing that love with other people. That is called Sanatana Dharma. It's the true nature of the soul, and it's the highest perfection of life. Because whatever our race, whatever our caste, whatever our sex or social status, inevitably we have to grow old, we have to get diseased, and we have to die. And any of those things could happen at any moment to anyone. So why are we wasting our lives just fighting over things that we are guaranteed to lose? Who am I? Who is God? What is my relationship? What is the actual purpose of life? Why, even though I want to be happy, I have to suffer? And what is the solution to that? Srila Prabhupada brought this ageless message of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Unless we experience the intrinsic nature of the love of the soul, we cannot rise above this ego and the byproducts of the ego. Selfish passion, anger, envy, greed, arrogance, and so much illusion. In his own gentle, humble way, he courageously had profound determination to share this message. And can you imagine 1965? He just had, in the winter from Vrindavan, he just had a pair of white plastic shoes. And just had a couple of these robes. Sometimes he'd walk down Fifth Avenue and he'd see all the wealth and all the beautiful cars and all the decorated people. And he cried. He cried with compassion. He didn't just see the illusory idea of people's apparent prosperity and joy. He saw that they were in poverty spiritually. Nothing would last. Only God's love lasts. And he wanted to share that. Quite an incredible thing to imagine. He had nothing, and he was looking at people who apparently materially had everything. And he was feeling that in his heart he had such a wealth that he wanted to give as the great charity to these really internally poverty-stricken people. And for almost a whole year, nothing seemed to work. All his plans kept getting foiled. Even when people would sometimes appear to want to help, they were distracted and betrayed him. Yes, New York was the place where he just would never give up. It's like, does a good mother ever give up on a naughty child? That was Srila Prabhupada's mood. He saw us all as God's children. And he was coming to nourish us with God's love. And then somehow or other, in a desperate situation, some people helped arrange 26 2nd Avenue. And there he was practically alone at the beginning, and a couple people started coming. Somebody gave him a bongo drum. Nowhere in India have I ever seen a bongo drum. And I've been there for 55 years now. But he would take that bongo drum and sit under a tree at Tompkins Square Park, and with such deep, sincere compassion, he would sing the names of Krishna in this Maha Mantra. And gradually people, not just by the mantra, but also by the sincerity and the deep compassion of the person chanting, little by little people wanted to participate, wanted to understand. And in this way, over the years, there are hundreds and hundreds of wonderful temples. Millions and millions of devotees. Incredible projects. When he came, he somehow or other got some of his followers to mimeograph, which was like handprint little Back to Godhead magazines. And from that, the largest publisher, or the largest distribution of Vedic literatures in the history of the world. But it all started in the Lower East Side of New York. So how honored we are at the Bhakti Center that we've been given this building on the same very block that Srila Prabhupada established the seed for this whole worldwide movement. And also given the personal care of 26 Second Avenue as a place of pilgrimage to celebrate Srila Prabhupada's legacy. Srila Prabhupada would sometimes say that we are not just a religion. Bhakti or Krishna consciousness is a science and a culture. It's a way of life that transcends all sectarian boundaries. Vidyavanaya sampane brahmani kavihastini suni jaiva swapaki cha pandita samadarshana. This verse from Bhagavad Gita is so much needed in this troubled world today. That actual enlightenment, actual knowledge and wisdom is not just what we accumulate as far as wealth or power or fame or influence or intellect. Real knowledge, real wisdom, real enlightenment is in proportion to how we see every living being with equal vision. Regardless of one's religion, race, color, sex, caste, social status, or even regardless of one's species. Life is sacred. Life is the presence of God's grace in the form of a soul, wherever it may manifest. Is there a greater need in the world than this understanding and realization? When the soul is separated from its own instinctive enlightened state, that becomes the cause of all the problems that we're facing. There's hunger, but actually there would be no hunger if people actually were compassionate and saw each other as brothers and sisters. There's fighting, us and them. But we could transcend that fighting when we actually understand that everything is the property of God and we are all brothers and sisters who are caretakers of that divine property. Srila Prabhupada entrusted us with this wonderful gift to share with each other in the world. And actually, Srila Prabhupada considered the most important place to share this was New York City, because of its effect on all of humanity all over the world. So the Bhakti Center, we have that little building, and from there, a wonderful community is little by little growing. A community with this divine principle as the center between us. I just heard this morning in a recording of Srila Prabhupada. He said some philosophers, they advocate becoming one with God by becoming God. Srila Prabhupada said we can never become God. We are eternally the children. We are eternally depending on the love of God. That is the nature of the soul. But when, as a community, as a family, we unite with the center point of being a part of the compassionate mission of the Lord, then we actually become one with God in spirit. one through love, one through devotion, one through compassion. Bhakti center, the word itself, means that the center that we share between us, that unite us as a community, is bhakti. Unconditional, unmotivated love for God in the spirit of being instruments of God's compassion to each other and the world. And of course, it very much begins with sharing this compassion and really caring about ourselves within the community. And to the degree the community is united, we could have a very empowered ability to share it with the greatly needed world around us. The Bhakti Center has endured many struggles over the years, recently as well. It seems like it's like an ocean with many waves of struggles that comes. But the beautiful thing about the community is not the struggles and the apparent disappointments, but those who do not give up hope. Those who remain enthusiastic. Those who choose to somehow or other remain united on a higher principle than all these reasons to be discouraged. Srila Prabhupada wrote that the greatness of a person has to be estimated by how that person tolerates provoking situations. A person, even in the face of difficulties, and if they don't pain the heart, they're not really difficulties. Sometimes we like to select what difficulties will be. But if we could select our difficulties, they're not really difficulties. But when it hurts, when it's hard, then it's a difficulty. Then it's a provoking situation. And to tolerate provoking situations means to not give up faith, to not give up hope, to remain determined, to remain enthusiastic, even when it's actually very difficult. Even when materially it doesn't even make sense. So I believe whatever difficulties have been at the Bhakti Center, for those who are sincere, who keep that hope, who keep that unity, who keep that vision, in many ways who follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and so many saintly people, of how they showed us to overcome difficulties. These difficulties can teach us very, very deep lessons, what to do and what not to do, and also purify us, and almost force us to be united on a higher principle than just our egoistic nature to find relationships. And yes, part of the challenge of Bhakti Center is New York City. It's really a hard place. I remember when we first tried to get started here, one of my very dear God brothers and very advanced wise man, he said, New York is very hard. He said, New York City, if you try to do something charitable and good at New York City, you will be chewed up and spit out. And he was from New York. And I'm from northern Illinois. A very small village in northern Illinois. And I've lived in India for 55 years practically. So I listened to him. But over the years, I realized it's really true. But that's what makes it so wonderful. For Krishna's sake, for God's sake, we're willing to be chewed up and spit out, and keep going, not just remain as laying on the street. We've been given so much, and today this is a fundraiser. Because, there are great needs, just because this building and its age and everything else, it requires, upliftments and restorations. But in many ways, the building itself is a symbol of the community. Venkata Prabhu, my very wonderful friend, you are servant of the serving MC so beautifully today with such short notice. Thank you. He described that the Bhakti Center is not just a building or a property, it's a community of people. When the building is in disrepair, it's actually an opportunity for the community to come together to restore it. Because it's not just a building. It's the home of Radha Murlidhar. And it's the home in which they bring us together. It's their home. It's our home. I've come this evening to thank you, to thank each and every one of you. I know there's so many distractions and so many obligations and so many stressful pressures living in New York and this area. But still, to whatever extent you're able to find the time to be a part of this community, to uplift this community, and to share this spirit and gift of bhakti with New York and the world. I'm so grateful to each of you. And I pray with all of my heart and soul that Shri Shri Radha Murlidhar will shower their blessings, their grace, their love upon you, your loved ones, and really empower all of us to do something wonderful. Thank you very much. I get to go now.